Hi, my name is Bjoern, and this is Bev Live coming to you on a beautiful Friday evening. It's getting warmer. Spring is here. Summer is just around the corner, and we are talking wine. Just like in previous weeks, we would love to continue the discussion about wine terms. There's so many to discuss because let's face it, wine is a subject that has all kinds of different terminologies and things how you can describe wines, even though most people are not familiar with all these terms. And that's what we're trying to change a little bit, make it a little bit educational here on Bev Live on a Friday evening. So the first one that a lot of people talk about is organic wine. What does it mean? And why is organic wine different to natural wine? And why is natural wine different to biodynamic wine? And what does it all mean? So organic wine is basically wine or made from grapes that are grown in a winery where no pesticides are being used or other prohibited substances. So there's some things you just cannot put on the vineyard, on the vines. Those are prohibited. You have to go through a whole process of doing so. It takes years to get certified. The soil gets tested. And it's expensive, but once you're through, you can claim on your label that your wine is, in fact, organic. There are different organizations across the world who do things a little bit differently. And so, one organization may rate your wine as organic, but that does not help you to label it as organic if you're selling in certain other parts of the world, because you got to get their certification. So it's difficult, it's expensive, but the rewards can be really good because once you have a wine that is classified as organic, you kind of like your competition gets less. There's only so many organic wines. So from a commercial perspective, it could be a really good thing for a winery to go through the process, even though it's expensive. That's organic wine. So what's natural wine? So natural wine is basically one step higher. You take your organic vineyard, and you use that vineyard to make natural wines. Natural wines are wines where you really don't have any additives added to the wines, but as the name suggests, as natural as it gets. That's natural wine. So it's like one level higher. And then there's another one, biodynamic, and also all these terms can be applied to other foods as well. So it's not just necessarily wine terms. Biodynamic really takes it to another level, where it gets spiritual, and like sometimes harvesting is done at night. It's the whole. I'm actually not an expert on biodynamic wines by no means, but it takes the organic, the biodynamic to another level, where we see the earth being part of everything, the vines and like I said, it becomes very spiritual. Sometimes harvesting is only done at night, for example, and things like that. So so that's organic, natural, and biodynamic. In other terms I wrote down for today is malolactic fermentation. What is that? So malolactic fermentation is often used in Chardonnay. A lot of you who are watching, like that buttery, big, creamy Chardonnay. That is often done with malolactic fermentation. So that's a secondary fermentation that is being done in the winery, and the second fermentation gets those characteristics, gets that buttery, creamy Chardonnay. So when you ever come across a buttery, creamy Chardonnay, chances are it went through malolactic fermentation. Usually also goes well with the type of wine with the use of oak, and that becomes then the wine so many of us are familiar with, that creamy, buttery Chardonnay. What is a closed wine? And I'm not talking about like a closed bottle of wine. I'm talking about a closed wine. Basically what that means is, and this brings me to my next term, closed wine. Basically what that means is that the wine is young, and like, you're trying to smell it and you're not really smelling anything. So it's kind of closed. And what that means is like the tannins and are basically like hiding the fruit basically. And it's just not coming out. So sometimes these wines then, especially young wines, just take some time in the bottle and will develop over time. So if you have some wines at home that are just not showing much, it could just not be it's the best, maybe not the best wine in the world, but it could also just be that they may not be great now, but they will be fantastic maybe in a year's time. So if you have a cellar, just put it away. Another term is balance. So those are the acids, the sugars, the tannins, and the alcohol, kind of all coming together. You don't want to have too much or too little of anything, as the name balance suggests. And balance can be, on different, it doesn't necessarily talk about the quality of the wine itself. Balance is a great thing, and it can happen at a $10 bottle of wine, $20, $50, $60, $70. It doesn't necessarily reflect the price point of the wine. It just means that, all these four parts, these four components are well put together and are, as the term suggests, balanced. Then another one, barrique and barrel. The barrel is, a lot of us are familiar with. A barrel is an oak barrel, and you put some wine into it, and then let it sit there for a little bit, then take it out at some point, like a year or maybe even longer, and then bottle it. And on some other episodes, we'll most likely talk about what that does to the wine. But there's also the word barrique. Barrique is basically a subset of barrels. So it's a 225 liter oak barrel, and so it's a very specific size. And for those who are wondering, that's about 60 gallons. Then the last one I wanted to talk to you all about today is ratings. We see a lot of ratings in our industry. There are big magazines that are out there. There are big competitions worldwide that rate and rank wines. And what does that all mean to you, the consumer? All it means is it gives you a reference point. It gives you a reference point from experts in the field to tell you this is a well-made wine and you should probably drink it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can like it. So you need to understand like these some of these reviewers the kind of wines that they like. Some reviewers have specific preferences. And those preferences may or may not match with what you like. So see who matches the tasting profiles that you like, and then kind of I think it's advisable to kind of follow that person, because chances are, if you like 5 wines that they liked, chances are you're gonna like that 6th wine as well. So with that. I wish everybody a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.